Continuing coverage of the devastation in Ruidoso tonight. The floods, of course, took so many people by surprise. There were also today plenty of questions over why the sirens did not go off. But village leaders tell us those are typically reserved for events that require the entire village to evacuate, like what we saw last year. The National Weather Service did issue a flood watch for the Ruidoso burn scar areas ahead of the storms yesterday. Still, the amount of rain that fell in such a short amount of time made the situation extremely dangerous.
In fact, the Rio Ruidoso reached record levels within just a few minutes. And while all of this was going on, the topic of a village leaders meeting was flood response. So let's get to Zach Rael. Go over exactly how things played out yesterday, if you could.
Yeah, Tessa, Trevor, according to the National Weather Service, more than 3 inches of rain fell in just about 90 minutes. And at that meeting, we can actually see and hear how the true scope of the flooding was beginning to take shape for the village leaders.
The expectation, Mayor, is that this is probably going to be the worst flooding we've seen, even worse than last year.
Those stark words coming from the Ruidoso Village Deputy Manager, Michael Martinez, towards the end of their council meeting Tuesday, not long after the heavy rainfall started.
Michael, is that from the river, Upper Canyon, or where is the water?
Everywhere.
Starting at 6:15 a.m. Tuesday morning, the National Weather Service issued a flood watch for the burn scars around Ruidoso, saying to expect heavy rainfall. The scheduled Ruidoso Council meeting started at 1 p.m., the mayor beginning with well wishes for the flooding victims in Texas, unaware of what Ruidoso was about to experience.
I want to keep all of Central Texas in our thoughts and prayers and see how bad it was and how fortunate we've been.
Around an hour and 12 minutes later, you can start to hear people's phones going off.
The ones we're always talking about. The ones that we're hitting them up every meeting, every radio show. White Mountain, we just had calls on that one.
That alert was a flash flood warning from the National Weather Service.
Well, they're part of Starlight. They're
Starlight,
and,
yeah,
MP Chavez has been a sub for them. So.
You can hear the thunder outside of the meeting video. At 2:41 p.m., the NWS sends an update on the rain, saying over an inch had already fallen and telling people to move to higher ground. Then, just 8 minutes later, at 2:49 p.m., a flash flood emergency is issued, saying this is a life-threatening situation that is unfolding. At 3:04 p.m., you can see the deputy manager whisper something to the mayor. Then, a few minutes later,
We've had a wall of water come over. It's predicted this is the big one.
Martinez addresses the council at 3:07.
We've had 5-foot walls of water coming, and we probably have another 4-foot wall of water coming down. Crews are handling those as we speak.
Well, the council meeting ends just a few minutes later at about 3:09 p.m. According to the National Weather Service, levels at the Rio Ruidoso River peaked at 3:55 p.m., reaching a record 20.25 feet, shattering the previous record of just over 12 feet. All of this again playing out in just about 90 minutes. Zach Rael, KOB4.